Apple is about to change the flagship smartphone game in a way most buyers are not ready for. Leaks and supply chain reports suggest the iPhone 18 Pro Max could be the most significant hardware leap Apple has made since the jump to its own silicon. And the part that almost nobody is talking about right now, it has nothing to do with the camera. We are expecting a starting price around $1,299 for the base iPhone 18 Pro Max configuration. That is a meaningful number. And whether that investment makes sense for you depends entirely on what Apple is actually putting inside this device, and whether those changes translate into real-world value you will feel every single day. Let's get into exactly what is coming. The biggest confirmed change is the chip. Apple is moving to a next-generation A19 Pro built on TSMC's second-generation 3nm process. Early estimates from supply chain analysts suggest a CPU performance jump of around 20 to 25% over the A18 Pro. GPU performance could climb even higher, potentially 30% or more above the current generation. Here is what that actually means if you use this device. A 4K ProRes video export that currently takes around 4 minutes on the iPhone 16 Pro Max could drop to under 3 minutes on the 18 Pro Max. For creators editing directly on device, and more people are doing exactly that, this is not a minor improvement. That is time you get back every single day. But that is not the biggest change. The display is where things get very interesting. Apple is reportedly moving to a next-generation micro-lens array OLED panel capable of hitting 3,000 nits of peak outdoor brightness. For context, the iPhone 16 Pro Max already pushes 2,000 nits. This would be a 50% brightness increase. Anyone who has struggled to see their screen in direct sunlight, on a beach, at an outdoor event, on a job site, will feel that difference immediately. The display size is also rumored to increase slightly, pushing towards 6.9 inches with even thinner bezels. Apple appears to be giving the Pro Max the largest, most immersive display it has ever shipped on an iPhone. Most buyers comparing specs right now are completely missing one detail that could make or break this purchase. Apple is expected to debut a new variable aperture camera system on the iPhone 18 Pro Max, a feature that has lived exclusively in the world of professional mirrorless cameras until now. Variable aperture means the camera can physically open and close its lens iris, giving it real control over depth of field and low light intake. This is not a software simulation. This is mechanical hardware that changes how light enters the sensor. For photographers and video creators, this is an enormous deal. Samsung introduced a version of variable aperture on the Galaxy S9 back in 2018, but abandoned it. Google's Pixel 9 Pro and the current Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra both rely entirely on software processing to simulate aperture control. If Apple executes this correctly, the iPhone 18 Pro Max camera system would have a genuine hardware advantage that no Android competitor currently offers. And this is the part that surprised us the most. Battery life. Leaks suggest Apple is fitting a significantly larger cell into the 18 Pro Max, potentially around 4,900 to 5,000 mAh, up from the 4,685 mAh battery in the 16 Pro Max combined with the efficiency improvements from the A19 Pro chip. Real-world screen on time could push past 14 to 15 hours of mixed use. That puts the iPhone 18 Pro Max in direct competition with Android devices that have historically owned the battery life conversation, including the Galaxy S25 Ultra and the OnePlus 13. Apple is also expected to finally push wired charging speeds higher. Rumors suggest 45-watt wired charging, which would cut full charge times dramatically compared to the current 27-watt ceiling. MagSafe wireless charging is expected to hit 25 watts on compatible chargers. These are long overdue improvements, and they matter. Now let us talk about whether the price is actually justified. At $1,299 for the entry 18 Pro Max configuration, Apple is asking you to pay a premium. But here is how to think about this as a long-term investment. Apple supports its flagship iPhones with software updates for a minimum of 6 to 7 years. Spread $1,299 across 6 years of daily use. And you're looking at roughly $18 per month for your primary computing and communication device. That math holds up extremely well against any flagship Android alternative at a similar price point, and it holds up even better when you factor in resale value. iPhones consistently hold 60 to 70% of their value after 2 years. A Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra at $1,299 typically holds closer to 40 to 45%. Over a 3-year ownership cycle, the iPhone 18 Pro Max likely costs you less in net terms than its closest Android competition. Here is where things get very interesting for people sitting on older devices. If you're currently using an iPhone 14 Pro Max or anything older, the iPhone 18 Pro Max represents a generational leap across every single category that matters. The chip performance difference alone is around 60% or more compared to the A15 Bionic. The display is dramatically brighter. The camera system is fundamentally different in its hardware design. Battery life is substantially longer. This is not a marginal upgrade. This is a completely different device. If you're on an iPhone 15 Pro Max, the decision is more nuanced. The chip jump is real and meaningful. The camera system changes are genuinely significant. But if you're a casual user who primarily takes photos, makes calls, and browses, your 15 Pro Max is still a very capable machine. The upgrade investment is harder to justify unless the variable aperture camera or the display brightness improvement solves a real problem in your daily use. If you're on the iPhone 16 Pro Max right now, wait. The performance difference will be noticeable in benchmarks, but not transformative in everyday use for most people. Hold your device for another generation. So here is the clear breakdown. If you're a professional photographer, video creator, or anyone whose work depends on mobile imaging quality, the iPhone 18 Pro Max variable aperture system alone may justify the upgrade investment. This is a hardware-level camera capability that no other smartphone currently offers. If you're a power user or professional on a 2 to 3-year-old iPhone or flagship Android device who wants the best long-term ecosystem investment, buy the 18 Pro Max at launch. The combination of a 19 Pro performance, battery improvements, and 6+ years of software support makes this a smart long-term ownership decision. If you're a casual user on an iPhone 15 or 15 Pro, wait for a price drop after the first 60 to 90 days. Apple's pricing historically softens slightly through carrier promotions and trade-in deals within the first quarter after launch. If you're a gamer using your iPhone as a primary mobile gaming platform, the GPU improvements in the A19 Pro are substantial enough to justify upgrading from a 14 series or older device. The sustained thermal performance Apple has built into recent Pro Max models makes them the best premium mobile gaming device available, outperforming even the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra in sustained benchmark scenarios over longer gaming sessions. The bottom line is straightforward. The iPhone 18 Pro Max is shaping up to be the strongest argument Apple has made in years for upgrading to its flagship tier. The variable aperture camera, the A19 Pro chip, the larger battery, and the brighter display are not incremental improvements stacked together.